2 days ago, I think fandom got a really big win. The Snyder Cut was announced and given a release date. It's going to be on HBO Max next year. I think that's a really big deal. They're actually going to sink $20 million into making this happen. It's a big win for the movement that wanted this, and I think that's awesome. You see some people coming out. There was this joke from Harley Quinn here where they had this guy saying, release the Snyder Cut on his shirt. Well, the creator of the show came out and said, well, look, I actually think it's a good thing. Okay, cool. I can appreciate that. But like clockwork, as you would expect, there's plenty of salty journalists out there. So here's one hot take. Release the Snyder Cut of Justice League sets a troubling precedent. Got another one right here. Why releasing the Justice League Snyder Cut sets a dangerous precedent. Got another one right here. HBO releasing the Snyder Cut of Justice League shows toxic fans are winning. And then we got this one right here. The same headline. Isn't that funny? It's almost like, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out here. It's almost like they're all sitting in some kind of group chat and talking about it. I wonder if that's happening. It's not like there wasn't a game movement that talked about stuff like that a few years ago. I wonder. I wouldn't think it's happening again. Anyway, what's funny about this is they're all using the same headline and a lot of the same rhetoric, but all of the articles are different. I just find it funny that they just stole the same headline from each other. It's kind of a joke, just like journalists at this point. But what's really funny about this is it was pretty predictable. Okay, anytime fans get a win of any kind, these people get mad. For one, they want to be the voice of fandom. That's kind of the big thing. They want to be your voice, and they want you to go through them. They kind of think of themselves as middlemen. They also think of themselves as better than you. They know more than you. They know what you want. You don't know what you want. And if you disagree with that, well, you're an istophobe, you're a toxic man, baby, misogynist, all that stuff. You know the routine by now. They were, of course, going to get upset about this. All these articles are just about the same, a little bit different. Some are nastier than others. I've kind of taken the more middle ground one, and that's the one by Screen Rant. But there's a bunch of them out there. You're all a bunch of toxic losers. You shouldn't be getting this movie. It shouldn't happen. Hollywood needs to not listen to fans. Who are they supposed to listen to then? I think it's good that they're listening to the people that they're trying to make money from. I'm also particularly proud of the Snyder Cut movement because they actually got something done and got what they've been pushing to get. And they had a lot of people tell them that this film doesn't exist or that they're toxic or terrible people. They've gotten in back and forth online fights with them. They've really went after this movement hard. And at the end of the day, they were right and they won. And of course, we are going to see these articles. I knew this was going to happen. There'll be more. You'll see more of these throughout the year. And if this movie ends up being a success and it's actually very good and well received, you'll see even more then. These people hate stuff like this. So let's go through this one. See, releasing the Justice League Snyder Cut is great for fans, but it also sets a bad precedent for Hollywood. After 3 years of campaigning, the Snyder Cut is finally becoming a reality. Zack Snyder used a recent Vero watch party of Man of Steel to announce the Snyder Cut is coming to HBO Max after the film is fully completed. The situation is a complex one resulting from a unique confluence of events. There's a director and actors who are willing to revisit a project that should have wrapped up 3 years ago and a new streaming service eager to commission new content. It's because of this that the Justice League Snyder Cut is even happening. Without the streaming service, it's unlikely Warner Brothers would have been willing to fund the project for its release in theaters. So I think that's a fair point. It's HBO Max, and that's the reason that this film is getting made. I don't think that that's a bad thing. They do need content, and this is a big draw. So HBO Max is kind of going to, in my opinion, going to be the big competitor for Netflix. That's going to be the big one. Disney Plus and Hulu aren't quite good enough. HBO Max, the stuff they have planned for that platform, I think it could actually stand up to Netflix. It's going to be a big one. I think they could actually do it. Now, doing stuff like this gets a really large enthusiastic movement behind you. It's a good faith thing. It'll probably get people to sign up to HBO Max early, and you'll get probably a little bit of brand loyalty maybe out of it, depending on how good that movie is. But that's not a bad thing to get. And you get some good customers, you get some good feedback, you get a lot of promotion from it, and a lot of people talking about your service now. People are going to be talking about this movie for an entire year, talking about it, debating it, talking about, what it's going to be like, expectations. I'm sure Zack Snyder will tease scenes. That's a lot of promotion for that streaming platform. It's actually kind of $20 million is honestly for AT&T kind of a drop in the bucket. Especially when you have all the resources to make this happen already agreeing to it. Zack Snyder wants it to happen. A lot of the actors support it and want it to happen. They're all going to come back and participate in this. It's really kind of, to be honest, a no-brainer for them to do it. Without HBO Max, though, I do agree with this paragraph. I don't think it would have happened. I think that the streaming service was a key factor in this movie getting released. But I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that that's a great thing. You're still getting the movie. The problem is the fact that the fans wanted this movie, then it's coming. The journalists are still going to be upset about it. It's just how they play the game. So for all that's the case, though the Justice League Snyder Cut makes a subtle shift in the balance of power between studios and the fan base, and that might not be a good thing going forward. Why is that not a good thing? That fans are going to get some respect and get listened to. That's my problem with these people, and I think it's always kind of been a problem that I've had with them. Why is it a problem that fans get what they want, or at least get respected? You don't have a problem with it. What are you most of the time? You're an istophobe. You're a piece of trash, stuff like that. I like that studios listen. Even if they don't give you what you want, at least acknowledging you and, giving good customer service. I think that's a good thing. Why has customer service become such a dog whistle for istophobic concepts? It really blows my mind that, just the idea of, you should give your customer and fans good service is some kind of hate thing. It's really it's strange, and it doesn't make any sense. And to be honest, it makes people mad that, the expectation that you should treat your customers good is a toxic concept. Anyway, continuing on, the balance of power in Hollywood has been changing for a long time, driven in large part by the rise of social media. Every detail of a film's production is now public knowledge. Casting announcements are poured over. Set photos, script leaks, and trailers are analyzed to the ninth degree and more. Studios increasingly take note of the online reactions and they have become a critical factor in the decision-making process. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, and sometimes the finished product is far better as a result. Widespread criticism of the poor CGI in Sonic the Hedgehog led to extensive improvements, for example. But for every Sonic, there is a sad squad, where Warner Brothers attempted to change the film's tone and style just to fit with the popular trailers, and as a result became a jumbled mess. So I can compare the squad comment to Rise of the Skywalker. But what's funny to me is Sonic the Hedgehog, right? That's an example that they use here. That's a really good example of studios using online kind of research to say, hey, people don't like that terrible, weird-looking Sonic. Let's redesign him and give him the classic look. And people loved it and supported the movie. And because they listened to feedback, that movie, I would argue, did a lot better than it would have done before. I think them saying, okay, you know what? We're going to give fans what they want. We're going to give you what you want. And because of that, they showed good faith, and a lot of people went and saw that movie. And you know what? If they hadn't done that, I don't think that Sonic the Hedgehog movie would have been very successful. If they had gone forward with that horrible design and not listened to the backlash, they wouldn't have had a successful movie. I think everyone understands that. And another point in there, the balance of power in Hollywood has been changing for a long time, driven by the part of social media, saying that every part of the film is now being poured over. Well, that's true, but you know what? That was always a thing. Just now people do it online en masse. People were still doing that before. You remember, before then, they were mailing stuff to studios. Studios still got feedback. They still got feedback. They had to work a little harder for it. They had to go out and do surveys, go to malls and stuff where large groups of people were and get feedback from them that way. Well, now they can do it online. It's a little bit different now. It's easier for them to do that. So this is kind of a dumb point. This has always been how it's been. People have always discussed and got excited for movies. I remember doing it well before social media was even really a big thing. So that doesn't really make much sense either. Anyway, most fan reactions are spontaneous, with little thought going into them, but the Justice League Snyder campaign was the exception to the rule. Fans didn't simply fume online, creating Twitter hashtags and retweeting juicy bits of information. They actively organized, encouraged by the director and even the cast. That's another thing. The cast and the director were behind it. And that did help encourage it. And I think that was a good thing. A lot of those people, especially Henry Cavill, fans really like him. He really gets fandom, and that's one of the reasons why there's a big rumor that they're going to bring him back to play Superman now, because the guy is so loved. I remember there was an interview with Henry Cavill where somebody's like, what do you think of those toxic fans? Aren't they just the worst? And he's like, no, I really respect the passion of fans. And it's like, yeah, this dude gets it. And now what happens? HBO is going to probably bring him back for Superman after saying they weren't going to do that. It was really up in the air, and I bet you for the longest time they ruled him out. But because fans like him so much, they're bringing him back. Anyway, the Snyder Cut campaign has already inspired countless copycats. Irate Star Wars fans petitioned Lucasfilm to declare Star Wars The Last Jedi non-canon. Game of Thrones viewers called for a rewrite of Season 8. And hashtag elitist sequel trended on Twitter. Okay, so a couple things in there. Of course they're going to blast Star Wars. If there's anything the media dislikes, it's the fandom menace. Those are like the number one enemies of the media. And I find it kind of funny. So, Last Jedi really set that in stone because, well, what did they do? Well, you didn't like The Last Jedi? Well, you're an istaphobe. It was kind of a replication of Ghostbusters 2016. The fatal mistake they did, though, was underestimating the power of the Star Wars fan base, especially when you split it in two like you did. That movie ruined Star Wars, I think, forever in a lot of ways. And I don't think it'll ever recover. That's kind of a different movement than the Snyder Cut movement, I got to say. And then the Game of Thrones viewers, everybody thought Season 8 was a disaster. Just because fans want something doesn't mean it's bad. Okay, people coming together to talk about rewriting Season 8, really not a big deal. Oh my goodness, an elitist sequel trended on Twitter. Why is that so toxic? And you know what they hate about that? It's because if you remember, people actually liked Alita, but they hated Captain Marvel. And those movies came out around the same time. And if you remember, what was really funny about that was the media was trashing that movie and praising Captain Marvel. It's almost like they wanted you to forget about that movie. And what's funny about Alita is it kind of cancels a lot of the narrative that men hate these like female-led movies, because a lot of people that saw that movie praised it. And it really does kind of debunk that narrative. But they'll always leave that out. We don't want to give these vocal, sometimes toxic fans, as they say right here, any kind of attention. So they say here HBO Max is sending a simple message: fan pressure works. The most vocal, well-organized, and high-profile fan campaign of all time has successfully achieved its goal. Of course, the reasons are unique, and no doubt the decision-makers would insist they haven't set a precedent at all, but the most toxic fans won't see it that way. Inspired by the success of Justice League Snyder Cut campaign, they will continue to exert their influence over other studios, networks, and streaming services. They will take the Snyder Cut as the evidence. Power now lies with them and not the filmmakers. Well, some power should lie with them, right? Shouldn't they listen Shouldn't they listen to fans? I just don't understand this argument. And the rest of the article is basically a smear on fans still saying, oh, we can't have trolling and all of this. So we'll just recap it up. Basically, journalists are salty and they hate it when fans get listened to. And I'll never understand it. But yeah, there is a shift coming. I think the shift is studios are going to listen to fans more and not stupid journalists. I think that's the shift you're going to see, and they don't like that. Of course they don't like that, because like I said, you are an insignificant worm that should be licking the journalist's boots. These people don't see you as a human. They see you as some kind of snail while they sit in their ivory towers and lecture you. You know, you should listen to them. They are the gods of society. Well, you're really irrelevant, and no one's really listening to you anymore. That's why Zack Snyder got his movie, and it's because of the fans that pushed for it. Anyway, fun journalist salt. I'm sure there will be more, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, share the video, throw a like up. Let me know what you guys think. Are you shocked? It only took them 2 days. Only took them 2 days to get salty. Actually, it only took them 1 day. Most of these articles came out yesterday. My bad. So it only took them 1 day to start whining and crying about Snyder Cut. What do you guys think about that? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Also, if you would throw a like up, share the video. Make sure you still subscribe. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment, make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that, and subscribe if you're new.